On February the 7th of 2015, two women were involved in a violent altercation at a Walmart in Deep Park, Texas. The argument between Alice Keener and Jessica Albitz had reportedly started a day earlier, while the former was working at the Jackson Hewitt kiosk inside the store. Tax worker Keener had reportedly insulted Albitz's husband, but she'd later claim it was a misunderstanding and that she'd made a joke during a conversation with a co-worker. When Albitz returned to the store, she and Keener got into each other's face and traded insults in a video-recorded incident. Then, as tensions escalated, 37-year-old Albitz leaned back and head-butted the other woman. Both then ended up on the ground where they traded blows and pulled on each other's hair. The fight, footage of which subsequently went viral, lasted only about a minute. As customers intervened to separate the women, Keener, a grandmother of four, initially declined to press charges, but ultimately decided to do so after a dentist's evaluation concluded the headbutt had loosened her front teeth. Albitz was arrested for misdemeanor assault. Both women apologized and said they regretted their actions in the aftermath, with Keener telling a media outlet, "I forgive her. I forgive myself. I'm done with it." Number 7. Isabel Jackson. Teenagers Isabel Jackson and Malaya Powell were strangers to each other before they were involved in a verbal dispute at a Walmart in Nashville, Tennessee in June of 2022. They exchanged words after Powell had confronted Jackson for stealing from the store, according to Powell's mother. The conflict continued into the parking lot near a WeGo bus stop where the two teens started fighting just before 10 p.m. During the course of the altercation, Jackson pulled out a pocket knife and plunged it into Powell's neck. She was taken to a nearby hospital in critical condition and later pronounced dead. Powell, a cheerleader at Bellevue Middle School, passed away before the police could interview her, but investigators identified Jackson as a suspect through footage from Walmart surveillance cameras. She was arrested by undercover officers at a Claiborne Street apartment. Jackson was charged with homicide and would be tried as a juvenile. In the incident's aftermath, Powell's mother told a media outlet that her daughter's life had been stolen from her and urged parents to talk to their children about how to handle anger, hoping to spare other mothers and fathers from experiencing similar anguish. Number 6. Breeden Harvey. On March the 19th of 2022, Florida man Breeden Harvey carried out a brazen attack on a woman as she was shopping at a Miami Walmart. 28-year-old Harvey threw the unnamed victim to the floor, then mounted her. He pulled up her skirt, tore off her underwear, and proceeded to grab at her thighs and privates. The woman screamed for help as he tried to further force himself on her. Cell phone video taken by other shoppers showed Good Samaritans as they rushed to intervene. One man, whom Twitter users only identified as Osvaldo C., hooked his arm around Harvey's neck and forcefully pulled him away from the victim. He and two other men were able to restrain Harvey as he struggled to break free and held him down until the police arrived at the scene. In the footage, which went viral in the aftermath, female shoppers were seen checking up on the victim, who was visibly shaken up. Harvey was taken into custody, charged with battery, and initially held without bond. One detective subsequently talked to the media about the abuse attempt and Harvey, noting it wasn't somewhere isolated. He didn't care if it was in the wide open. His sheer disregard of the circumstances led the authorities to suspect he'd done it before, and they urged anyone with information about other possible attacks to come forward. Number 5. Thalia Huyen and Delina Bustos. In mid-January of 2018, a video went viral on YouTube and various social media platforms of two women being handcuffed at a Walmart in Houston, Texas. One of them, later identified as 32-year-old Thalia Huyen, had her pants down, exposing her thong underwear, and was shouting about her back condition. The other woman seen on the store's floor in the video was her 18-year-old daughter, Delina Bustos. The incident had occurred on the evening of June the 21st of 2017. Huyen and Bustos were on their way out of the store when loss prevention officer Marcus McNeil grabbed the former's purse. Huyen would maintain that she didn't know McNeil, an off-duty Houston Community College police officer, was part of the store staff. A struggle ensued, during which Huyen's pants fell down, an occurrence she'd later report had left her feeling embarrassed and humiliated. McNeil called the Houston Police Department for support, and When two officers arrived at the scene, Bustos and Huyen were already on the floor. One of them used a baton to restrain the women, a maneuver that an internal affairs investigation subsequently found to have been procedurally correct. McNeil would later claim that both women had kicked him while he was trying to detain them, which they vehemently denied. Huyen claimed that she was only trying to tell him about her back condition, as she'd reportedly had surgery recently. She was nevertheless charged with assault and resisting arrest, while Bustos was charged with resisting arrest and robbery. Both eventually pleaded guilty to misdemeanor assault and were sentenced to 1 year deferred adjudication involving community services and paying court fines. Huyen explained they'd only admitted guilt because they didn't have the resources to fight the charges, and she didn't want her teenage daughter to risk jail time. She added that Bustos had done nothing wrong and only pleaded guilty because they'd felt there were no other options. Number 4. Brandy McGowan. On March the 30th of 2022, law enforcement was called to a Walmart on South US Highway 441 in Summerfield, Florida, following reports that a woman was threatening customers and staff with a brick and a knife. A responding deputy found 32-year-old Brandy McGowan, who was under the influence of at least 4 grams of methamphetamine at the time, standing in the clothing section. She was holding a pocket knife, which she'd stolen from the store, and rambling. As indicated by an affidavit, McGowan said she hadn't killed her family, but investigators found no reason to believe her statements were rooted in reality. Deputy Christopher Witt's body cam recorded him holding McGowan at gunpoint and ordering her to drop the knife. The woman didn't react and continued speaking incoherently. Then, as backup arrived, Witt switched to his stun gun. He again ordered McGowan to drop the knife before shooting her as she was distracted. The woman collapsed backwards, stiff, bounced off shelves and landed on the floor face first. She was restrained and taken to a local hospital for evaluation, after which she faced a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon without intent to kill after Walmart had chosen not to pursue retail theft charges. McGowan had a lengthy criminal record across multiple Florida counties that included arrests for burglary, property damage, kidnapping, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and battery. Number 3. John Engerbos. On July the 20th of 2018, 33-year-old Corey Richardson was leaving a Walmart in New Berlin, Milwaukee, with her 2 children, a 9-year-old daughter and a baby boy, who was in a car seat on top of her shopping cart. As she was preparing to pull out of the parking lot, the mother encountered John Engerbos. His empty cart, abandoned halfway onto a grassy median, was partially blocking her vehicle. Richardson asked him to put the cart away, but the 60-year-old man refused, claiming there were people who get paid to do that. Richardson then asked that he at least move it out of the way of her car, at which point Engerbos attacked her in front of her children. He pushed the woman to the ground, punched her, kicked her, and pulled her hair. Engerbos also took her car keys and threw them away when Richardson tried to retrieve them. During the struggle, the cart with Richardson's infant son rolled through the parking lot unattended. She was able to get him before Engerbos pulled out of his parking space and drove away, nearly striking her and her children, as well as a witness. When officers arrived at the scene, they noted that Richardson had visible injuries. Walmart surveillance systems had captured the incident, and law enforcement used the footage as evidence in charging Engerbos with 1 count of second-degree recklessly endangering safety, 1 count of misdemeanor battery, and 1 count of disorderly conduct. He eventually pleaded no contest, and on February the 27th of 2019, he was sentenced to 90 days in jail and 2 years of probation. He was also ordered to undergo anger management counseling, a mental health evaluation, as well as to pay court costs and restitution. Number 2. Trevor King. Atlanta off-duty police officer Trevor King was at his second job, working security at a Southwest Atlanta Walmart on October the 13th of 2014. After purchasing his groceries, a man by the name of Tyrone Carnegie returned to the produce aisle to weigh a tomato for which he believed it had been overcharged. He put it back in his shopping bag, then tried to walk out, at which point he was stopped by King, who suspected that he'd stolen the tomato. Within seconds, the security guard started striking Carnegie in the leg with a metal baton. He reportedly dished out the violent blows without asking Carnegie for a receipt or even telling him that he was being questioned. The baton strikes, captured by surveillance cameras, ruptured an artery and broke 2 bones in the innocent shopper's leg. He needed surgery in the aftermath and had a titanium rod inserted to mend the damage. King filed a report claiming that Carnegie had tried to push past him and reached for his gun belt, a version of events that was later proven to have been a fabrication. Carnegie was jailed for several days before the charges against him were dismissed. In 2017, King was found guilty in federal court of using excessive force and obstructing investigation, and he was sentenced to 5 years in a federal prison. Number 1. Andre Marcus Bing. On November the 22nd of 2022, over a dozen employees at a Walmart in Chesapeake, Virginia, had gathered in a meeting room preparing to start the night shift. At around 10:12 p.m., manager Andre Marcus Bing walked inside the room armed with a 9mm handgun and several magazines of ammunition. Witnesses reported that he suddenly snapped and started shooting at his co-workers. According to one account, 31-year-old Bing, who'd been with Walmart since 2010, was laughing as he fired his pistol. He reportedly appeared to be targeting specific employees, whom he shot multiple times even after they'd been hit and were unresponsive. Although the concrete reason for his victim choice wasn't concretely established in the immediate aftermath. Jessie Wilczewski had worked at the Walmart branch for only 5 days, and she hid under a desk when the shooting started. Bing inexplicably spared her as he ordered her up, saw her face, and then told her, "Jessie, go home." The store was open and there were about 50 people inside at the time of Bing's rampage. After gunning down his colleagues, he fired at least 10 shots in the grocery aisles before fatally turning the gun on himself. He'd injured 4 and killed 6 people in his rampage. The deceased were all employed by Walmart and subsequently identified as Randy Blevins, Lorenzo Gamble, Tanika Johnson, Brian Pendleton, Kelly Pyle, and Fernando Chavez Barron, who was in his late teens. Because of the store's size, it took first responders nearly 40 minutes to search the building for additional victims or possible shooters, a process during which they located Bing among the deceased. He had no criminal record and had legally purchased the gun used in the mass shooting. Bing's motive remained unknown, but in a death note found on his cell phone, he claimed that he was being mocked by his co-workers. Bing was described as constantly exhibiting hostile or paranoid behavior in his workplace interactions. Thanks for watching. Where would you rather take shelter in case of a zombie invasion? A Walmart or a McDonald's? Let us know in the comments section below.